Now, I'm going to ask Roger Lenel to speak, but I think we may have committed the problem we've been talking about. We've asked the NGO community to go last, not in the first part of the design. So we've said, comment after we've decided everything at the beginning, so we apologize for that. But can we have some thoughts?
I'll try to make the best that I can. I'll do what, as my colleagues, that even though my native tongue is French, I'll do like the Spanish speaking and Portuguese speaking. I'll try to do the best that I can in English. Let me present myself for about 30 seconds, where I come from. In a previous life, during some 14, 15 years, I was Executive Vice President in Hydro-Québec, a major developer of dams in Canada. I'm based in Montreal, and it's essentially developing for electricity. And in that period, I was in charge of strategic planning, financial planning, and especially business and environmental and regulatory affairs. Since 2004, I'm doing something else, some consulting, very part-time, but the most important thing that I'm doing is trying to involve myself as a chairman of the board of International Secretariat for Water, which is an NGO, focusing essentially on drink water and sanitation, especially for the poorest in the world. So that NGO, since 1990, has done some projects, especially infrastructures in Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Moldavia, Burkina Faso, Peru. We're doing some lobbying and other NGO networks for rights for water, capacity building, decentralizations of decisions, accessible finance to local actors, and proper contractualizations to make local infrastructures happen. And here at the World Water Forum, we host a Citizens House for Water, lead a Water and Cinema Initiative, and a Youth Parliament Forum on Water. The messages from NGOs are on the present team here are multiple, and I chose to simplify them in 4 messages. First, given that 70% of those without access to good drink water are from rural areas without density of population, if you can provide water and sanitation in a decentralized way, do it, it's better. Our experience is that local control can be more easily organized to ensure response to local needs, transparency to avoid corruption, which may happen at all levels of governments, of course, and even often provide services at lower costs. But that being said, it becomes less interesting for the banking institutions and big money. I try to formulate it in a little provocative manner because Jerry asked me to be to ask some radical vocabulary, so I do my best, even though I have a background in a public utility, and that's not a good school to have radical vocabulary. When big projects are necessary, and of course it is necessary for big cities, for cheap hydro, for flood control, etc. What we value as value number 1 should be respect for people, respect for life, that is, therefore, respect for the environment, as opposed to respect for capital, which is generally the dominant value in those kind of projects. I'll choose to focus on persons, and respect for people translates into 2 categories of negotiations of interests which may become necessary. The first type of negotiation, which may be necessary, especially in multiple services type of infrastructures, is among persons wanting to benefit from the possible multiple services coming out from the project. It may be drink water, it may be irrigation for agriculture, electricity, flood control, land use development, tourism, fishery, etc., etc. Often the electricity aspect dominates because it's the most bankable aspect. The revenue stream is more predictable. It's not, of course, not the only reasons. There is a need for energy, of course, but often it dominates. So the orientation that we try to promote is involve all interests of all the categories of persons interested in some service, and especially helping the weaker voices, because the quality of life of persons should constrain the rate of return and not the other way around. The second type of negotiation is with people living in the environment and generally